Welcome to the Mediabox, where I'm joined by Pieter Omtzigt to talk about his report on Daesh foreign fighters returning from Syria and elsewhere. You're pretty clear that the current situation is untenable. It can't continue, and it's one that's been the case for quite a long time now.
Yeah, well, there's been a genocide, and this whole organization was founded after World War II to prevent large-scale wars, to prevent wars between member states, and to prevent genocide. That was the thing we all agreed on after World War II. And what we're seeing right now is that we're not able to prevent wars between the member states, and right now there's quite a large one. Okay, we threw Russia out, but obviously there still is a war. And we now have a genocide. We had one earlier in Europe, obviously Srebrenica, but at least in Srebrenica we managed to punish the people responsible for it. And now we've had a genocide committed in Syria and Iraq, and thousands of French, British, Belgian, Dutch, German citizens participated. And so far there is really no punishment for them. And that's a really bad signal, because it really means that once the news cycle turns on to the next conflict, and for very good reasons that's Ukraine at the moment, we seem to have completely lost interest. And whereas we still have about 150,000 Yazidis who are victims of this, living in camps in northern Iraq with nowhere to go. The discussion here is about repatriating the children and taking the parents or not. But the main issue should be, how do we keep the people who are responsible for the most awful crimes? If you read them, you will not sleep for weeks. Responsible, and how do we set up a proper tribunal?
You and PACE are calling for an international tribunal. What's your model there?
It could be any model. I mean, I would like an international tribunal. A hybrid tribunal is fine. Set up the tribunal, I would say, to the countries. Iraq is very difficult to get involved. And as long as you don't manage that, you don't only have the option, but you have the obligation to prosecute these people when they have returned to the home countries. Not for participation in a criminal organization, because that usually carries quite light sentences, but for participation in a genocide. Obviously, the proofs for that are difficult, but you have to do it. Not only to be right to the Yazidis, who can't go anywhere, but also to do the right thing vis-à-vis your own citizens, who may not want to live amidst genocidaires. On top of that, I believe that countries should have done more to prevent this genocide. And there's also the obligation for states to do that under the Genocide Convention. And I mentioned the option to actually sue states for their role in facilitating or not stopping this genocide. If you don't do justice after a genocide, and we have determined years ago that this was a genocide, then how do you want to levy fines for speeding 3 miles on a motorway?
Pieter Omtzigt, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.